You are live, it says on my screen.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are. Welcome to a very impromptu What's on Joe Mind live stream. I'm your host, Mike Irizarry. With me tonight from the Vineyards, Joe Colton.
Hello, everybody.
And from the deepest, dankest dungeon in Weber Manor, the honcho, Mark Weber.
That's what I'm talking about. Look, we got the in-laws in town, and they're ruling the upper deck. So here we go. Well, welcome to the basement, the dungeon level of the Weber Castle.
Well, I mean, in fairness, it is the only level that can protect you enough from the sun.
That's true. This is the bomb shelter, so this I'll be hanging out here with all my Joes and all our old college papers that we haven't thrown out yet.
You've been busy.
All right. We got a futon. You know, we're good. We got two very small windows.
Do you have a cot?
That depends on who's asking.
Well, all right then. Rather than go down that rabbit hole, we will take a moment here and instead introduce our guest. He is the first ever video guest on What's on Joe Mind programming. And we are here to talk with him about the headlines that he made and drove like he stole. Bobby Vala is here, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go.
Everybody
What's up, everyone? How's it going?
I hope they're clapping at home. I don't know.
Of course they are. They're looking. I guarantee you, every one of them are zoomed in on the figures back on the shelf and trying to figure out who they all are. Spoiler: they're all Steel Brigade. Everyone.
That's this wall over here.
Including the custom Steel Brigade E-Honda. Now I've given you a project. Get to work on that one.
Done.
But Bobby, how's things? We haven't spoken to you in public in a couple of months. What you been up to?
Working on a couple things here and there. I think I might have had some news come out on Friday. Not sure if anyone saw it or not, but
Really?
News,
you say? But congratulations on the get, Bobby. That was huge. That was on a day when there was toy news busting out left, right, upside, and down. You took the Joe community and you threw it on its head, and you said, "Hey guys, Sergeant Slaughter's in action for."
Yeah. Thank you. It's been crazy. It really has. I knew it was going to be big, but it's bigger than I could have ever expected. And it's great. It's great to be kind of surprised at something. It's awesome to like work real hard at something and then have it like pay off like better than you expected. So I couldn't be happier with the turnout so far.
So take us back to the beginning of that process. Like what were you digging around for when you found out that this was a possibility?
Well, for those of you listening who actually don't know and maybe live under a rock, Sergeant Slaughter is now part of Action Force. Sergeant Slaughter is a character in Action Force, and go check him out. The figure is probably all over social media right now. But how it kind of came to be, I wish I could kind of remember. People keep asking me, it's like, when did you think of Sarge, and when did you think of taking Action Force and Steel Brigade? And I never really remember the moments. I know the people I talk to and ideas I have, but Sarge kind of came up, and I think I talked to a few people buddies of mine, it'd be really cool if this could happen. Just more joking about it, it can never happen, but it would be cool if we can get to that level. And a good friend of mine, he has some contacts, and he said, "Why don't you see if you want me to see if I can get you his agent, get you in contact with him?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And this was back in maybe late February, early March, and it took him about a week. And he goes, "Hey, here's the info." And I was like, "Wow, this is amazing." And I contacted Sarge's rep, and they didn't know who the hell I was. They don't know what Valaverse is, what Action Force is. So they're kind of just getting a cold
You were
call.
right across the room throwing them at Joe Fest last year. I'm sure you're just indelibly etched in his mind.
Right. So, I kind of, gave him the 20-second pitch and sent him. I did a whole sort of PowerPoint presentation for him, and then the ball started rolling. And Sarge has been so great and so into it since then. And it was literally that quick, like since March. We talked, we pitched. They got WWE's permission. We worked out the negotiation part of it, and we got rolling. Made the model, got it all going. Sarge did that awesome video, and now here we are. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
That was fun. He took that video down like a pro, man.
Man, when I sent him the shirt, sent him a nice bottle of his favorite, sent him a nice letter, tell him about how it's crazy if I can go back and tell like my 8-year-old self like, hey, this would be happening. And I sent him a script of what I wanted him to say, and his rep came back to me and said, listen, Sarge said he wouldn't say those kind of things like that, so he's going to say it the way Sarge would say it. And I was like, he's by all means, please, absolutely. And that's when I knew he was into it. I was like, all right, this is going to be awesome. And it took a little while. It took a week or two to get it. And then he sent me the video, and I don't know what I was doing. I was like playing with my son or something. And I said, Mason, I got to stop. We got to stop what we're doing. I got to watch this right now. And it was like, I watched it and I was just floored. I was like blown away. I watched it like 6 or 7 times, like in a row, just because it was so amazing. And it just, even now, like watching it now gives me chills, like to look at it and say, wow, that really happened. Like, and then when I cut the video of me doing the intro and the outro and then sent it to my guy and he pieced it together and he sent the video back to me, and then seeing like me talk about Action Force and then introing Sarge, it was like, whoa, like this is like next level. So the whole process has been so great in that sense that it's like I'm just not used to it, and it's awesome. I can't even describe how awesome it is.
Yeah, that's a heck of a lead pitch, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you need our help trying to find William the Refrigerator Perry's people?
A lot of people keep asking me about that. We'll see. So originally, what we were supposed to do was the plan was to introduce Sarge at the Action Force panel at Joe Fest that would have happened a few weeks ago. That would have been how we were gonna do it. I was gonna say like, hey, got this, I got something I want to show you guys, and then let me bring in someone to help me, and I was gonna have Sarge come in, which would have been really cool. But with everything with Joe Fest getting pushed out and stuff like that, but I didn't want to wait because I wanted people to be able to pre-order the figure, and I wanted to get the news out there. So, I kind of worked up like, all right, well, let's do this video and let's put this package together and get it out to people that way.
I can't keep a secret for that long, like this big a secret for that long.
Yeah, I can't keep secrets for that long. It was like, it was killing me. I was like, I can't wait to like tell everyone, and it was like, I was really good about only telling a few people, because usually I'm like, I want to tell everybody. But I was really good about it. And people kept asking me like, hey, can you tell me? Can you tell me? Like, I wouldn't even tell Webb. Webb was like, hey,
Right.
I can keep a secret. And I'm like, can't tell you.
We see where you rate, Honcho.
I was good about it. Look, I'm a journalism guy. I told Bobby straight up, I'm like, look, if you want to tell me, it won't go anywhere. And if you don't want to tell me, I totally get it. And he was like, cool, you're not on the list. Okay. Fine, right? But the thing I find most interesting about the backstory here, about how it came about, is learning that the WWE guy doesn't like a scripted promo.
Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't need a scripted promo.
Right.
Doesn't need it. Doesn't need it.
Doesn't need it.
That is one of the most recognizable sports entertainment personalities of all time. That is a well-worn combat boot, is what that is.
Well, yeah, it just goes to show you the longevity and the superstar nature that Sarge has. He's been out of wrestling for how many years, and he's been out of kind of G.I. Joe, but look at the star power that he has, that he can kind of be away from things, but all of a sudden he makes an appearance, and it's like everyone's 8 years old again. and
Mhm.
Sarge is back, and that's what's awesome. And another reason why I'm glad that it happened, because I also looked at it like when I was doing my research for my pitch, I looked at when the last time Mattel did a Sarge figure for WWE. And it was like 2015 or 2016, something like that. And then Hasbro hasn't used Sarge since the 2015 Creo set. And before that was the 2010 Comic-Con figures. So I was like, this is almost a disservice that they're not using this iconic star anymore. So it's great that he can be thrust back into the spotlight where he deserves to be.
Agreed.
So I was impressed by Sarge's sidearm.
His hand cannon?
Yeah, man, you went full Dirty Harry on that one.
Well, I was thinking about it, and I look at like the past iterations of the figure, and he never, until the Comic-Con 2010 figures, he never came with weapons. He always came with his baton.
Mhm.
So I think maybe the club did one that came with some weapons, but like the real releases, he never came with a weapon. And I was like, Sarge, I guess Sarge doesn't really need a weapon. So when I was designing mine, I was like, you know what? I don't think he needs to be packed full of like weaponry. But I said, you know what I want to give him? I want to give him a ridiculous knife and a ridiculous pistol. And I was doing my research on what he would have. And I was like, he would probably have a ridiculous revolver, like something like a Tackleberry type revolver.
Mhm.
And then I was like,
Tackleberry. I love it.
Really cool, like Bowie knife. And I was like, well, Carrick has a Bowie knife, but I redesigned a new one with the eagle head and stuff like that. Like if it was like a nice ceremonial piece that maybe he got during his time, doing other covert training. So I feel like it was the perfect balance for the figure. He's not, overly geared up, but it's just enough to match the character.
I mean, his fists are the size of frozen turkeys. How much gear does he need?
Right? Wait till Liefeld draws the fist.
Oh God.
Don't get me started, please. It just calmed down.
Right.
What are you talking about, Joe?
Can't with that guy. How does he get paid?
Let it go.
Now
Let it go.
now it's time to open the second beer.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Joe, get a refill. Relax. Down the hatch. There you go. There you go. There you go.
There you go. You can't see my feet either. The best part about the live stream, I'm gonna get Joe to do a spit take on the screen at some point.
There you go.
Yeah.
She needs a COVID plexiglass in front of her
Right?
But maybe she's already got one. Who can tell? So Bobby, where does the Sarge fit into the story for Action Force?
So the way Sarge is going to be introduced into the story, so there will be an issue of the Action Force comic that will feature Sarge and will give his backstory. Bill wrote a fantastic script, and because we kind of were mulling over ideas, I said, this is how I want to present him, and he took it.
This is Bill Nedro, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
He took it, he ran with it, and he crushed it. I can't tell you how happy I am with the work Bill's doing. He's so into this that's why I'm just like, hey, you want to write this script? Write this script. And it's like, I tell him something, like I'll have an idea for a quick issue, and like 2 days later I have a script, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But the Sarge script was great because it really captures exactly how I think the character should be introduced in the story. And with the way it is, if you read the backstory of Action Force, it's almost like I predicted the current state of things, because I came up with the idea of the overarching story a year ago, like before the country was a mess. And I'm like,
well,
wait a second.
Before it was quite so obvious.
We were on our way.
I was like, did I predict things? Because in the Action Force story, it takes place, I believe the date we chose was 2032 or 2028, somewhere around then. But obviously the United States is disbanded, and all the states act as their own republics. And then, the world kind of goes to crap. And then republics start taking over each other, and then it's just this giant civil war. And then Action Force kind of put together to help kind of balance things out again. Like, hey, listen, we need to bring some peace to this. We need to everybody just chill out. And the idea is that Sarge, with his background of putting covert teams together, he is he's a retired ex-military guy, and he sees the state of things, and he's like, I can't sit back and watch the country just tear itself apart like this. Something needs to be done. So he grabs a few individuals, and they sort of form Action Force, and he's sort of the catalyst that brings them all together, and says, hey, look, guys, I'm picking the best, most skillful men and women to become part of this elite team that's going to help bring peace to the country again. And that's how Sarge is introduced into the story. So he's not the leader of Action Force, but he's almost like the originator.
He's the founder.
Founder,
yes.
I love the idea because I think it plucks on two really interesting strings. Like, Slaughter is almost ageless, almost timeless in the presentation of the character over the years. But to take a look at him and actually give him the wisdom and it's the Indiana Jones line, right? It's not the years, it's the mileage. So when he really is an old warhorse, what's that Sarge like? I think that's really interesting. But deeper than that, like, what happens to a patriot when they're not flying the flag anymore?
Yep.
Right.
And that's explored big time. Like, there's a scene with him and who was the last president, and there's a scene where the two of them are talking, and that comes out, and it's great dialogue.
I think that's cool, just for a guy who pretty much draped himself in the U.S. flag all those years, to see it fracture into 50 city-state republics. Like, the kind of catastrophic damage that would do to his psyche.
Yep.
And because it's happening internally, there's no enemy at the basis of the story. There's no enemy to fight. There's no one to stop. There's no there's no way to put on your fatigues and go battle against it. It's just happening. So I think there's a couple of really interesting things. And I have always been a huge fan of Bill's writing. I think he gets Joe on a level that hardly anyone ever has from a writing perspective. And so I know he's done really good work for you, and I can't wait to see what he's doing with Sarge.
Yeah. I can't, like, the comics, now that the Sarge stuff is kind of over, because that was taking up the majority of my time. Now I'm going to sort of switch gears and now put the priority into the comics, because we finished a bunch of issues. Like, I have a bunch of issues done and colored and all lettered, and it's just a matter of getting them out. And I'm trying to figure out the right way to do that, because with the state of comics kind of up in the air, and the cost that it is to print, like, that would have to come out of the company's pocket to print them. I don't know if that's feasible to print, so I might look at doing a sort of a digital subscription on the website. But I also know that people like a tangible comic, so I might just do like a collected trade at the conventions, available at the conventions. So that's what I'm looking at right now. But like I said, I'm going to take a deep dive into it. I'm also looking at, like, overhauling the website so that the website gets a bit more traffic and we can get more people to the site, because I want to have more things offered on the site, because right now the majority of what you get is social media. So I want to get the focus onto the Valaverse website, and then bringing the comics to the site would really help that.
Mm-hmm.
So how, I know it's only been a couple of days, but are folks responding with their wallets? How's pre-sales?
Unbelievable. Like,
yeah.
When I say that it has exceeded expectations, like, it's exceeded expectations. We had an initial quantity or a minimum quantity from the factory that we had to do, and we destroyed that number, like, absolutely destroyed that number in 24 hours. It's like, I was telling Dave Proctor, the numbers, and he said, I've never heard a pre-sale that high before, like, those numbers, like, that quickly. So it's like
Wow.
it's absolutely crazy, and it's also had like this halo effect where people are ordering Sarge, but ordering a lot of the rest of Series 1. So it's not just like Sarge that's spiking, it's all of it, like all of Action Force. On Big Bad Toy, like I'm getting, the sales reports from them, and I'm like blown away by the numbers they're sending me. And I'm looking at my numbers. I'm like, this is amazing. Like this is crazy. Like how much this has blown up like that. So it's great because now it really cements Action Force. It really cements the Valaverse. It's going to take the company in a whole new direction. It's going to give us the freedom to do more with the line and to branch out. So I can't begin to tell you how much it's helped.
Excellent. Does this? I was doing the mental gymnastics over the weekend and just thinking, wow, what is, like, if people just show up, let's just say all these hypothetical rabid fans that not only love your property, Action Force, but say the G.I. Joe fans who maybe they don't care for Action Force, but they're going to get Sergeant Slaughter, who, whatever, more than happy to sell you Sergeant Slaughter, right? Like, what is this going to pay for in the future going forward? Like, what's the next step now that we've got this momentum? Where do you see, what specifically can we look at? Or is that just too far into the bag at this point? You want to have some surprises?
I'm trying not to overextend myself because I want to make sure I do it the right way. Like I want to make sure that yes, the company flourishes and we make the right moves to make it a success. But at the same time, I understand that it's also just starting and these things are currently in production and it's just pre-orders now. And I think the most important thing is getting the product in people's hands. So Sarge was kind of I guess like the last big step in this whole process. That was it. That was like the last puzzle piece, and it's all done now. And now, let's get to the finish line. Let's get the product in people's hands, and then as soon as it's in people's hands, then Series 2. I want to show Series 2. I want to get Series 2 pre-ordered, ready to go. It's like I've always been one to say that you can't ask people to buy something before you've delivered on the first thing they bought. So I really don't want to do anything with Series 2 or anything more until we get Series 1 finished, which is it sucks for me because of I have terrible patience and I just want to go. So now I just kind of have to sit and wait and hope everything gets delivered on time, spring 2021, and everyone's happy and everything goes smoothly. And then we can go right into Series 2. There might be one more surprise coming in July, but then that's it.
Like 2 days from now.
Well, I mean, like more like end of July. Yeah, end of July. But other than that, yeah, it's just kind of sitting and waiting. But I'm constantly thinking about Series 2 because there were a lot of characters that didn't get unlocked for the Kickstarter. The ladies need to come out. I keep thinking of ideas for characters that I can do. What's another version of Sarge? What's what are more basic troopers? What's what's a different version of Steel Brigade? So it's just a matter of, okay, I have all these ideas. What can we do then for Series 2, and how are we going to go about doing it? Because I don't want to do another Kickstarter. I think going the boss fight route where you cemented yourself and you have this following. Now you can abandon the Kickstarter and just do pre-orders through your own site and just, manage the flow that way. So that's what I'm hoping to do for Series 2. But also, with Joe Fest coming up in September, I want to have, some reveals there. So I thought of a really cool idea for Series 2 that will probably be the first thing I show that we're definitely going to do for Series 2. And I think people are going to get really excited about it, especially people that are fans of original Action Force.
Nice.
I know a guy like that.
You can get off that microphone a little bit with that. Yeah. Turn my own levels down.
So,
otherwise
we've got a fan that has said thank you for getting Sergeant Slaughter on board. And that's Brian Greenwood. And then we've got a question for you.
Okay.
White Vegeta says, how much do you think the classified series has helped your sales of Action Force? And has it?
Yes, it has. As much as it pains me to say that, yes, it has. Because if you remember, I closed the pre-orders in January because the Kickstarter ended in November, and I gave people till the end of January to fulfill their orders. And then it was kind of like I was just sitting back waiting for the factory to finish production. But then when they announced the 6-inch line in February, I saw it like leaked images, and I said, they all have space weapons. I said, people don't want space weapons. They want real world weapons. So I said, you know what I should do? Why don't I reopen pre-orders? Because it can't hurt anything. It could just bring in more. And I remember I opened it back up, and there was like this new wave of people that maybe didn't believe in 6-inch military, or were like, I don't know, I'm on the fence, and then saw that Joe was happening at 6-inch, and they're like, oh, okay, now I can get behind Action Force. So I got, like I said, that whole new wave of people, and then it just kind of like each wave just kept coming and coming and coming, where the momentum never really stopped. And I've kept pre-orders open since then, and the sales have never really slowed. And then people kept coming back, and every time Hasbro would show a figure that disappointed people, they would come back and buy more Action Force stuff. So yeah,
well, you've got quality, so like it's just showing how strong your brand is.
And that's a really good positive feeling, because it's like, okay, well, I know there's a good amount of people that aren't happy with that line, and because of that, it's getting them to recognize Action Force as what they want and what they're looking for, and being that quality product. So it's, yes, it's helped, but I like the reasoning for it helping. And then with Sarge coming out, that was like, the KO knockout punch. Now it's like Action Force is front and center. It's on everyone's mind. It's to me, in my opinion, it's as big as the classified line, because of what I'm offering, and what they're not offering, and what I'm offering. So,
Bobby, there's definitely an appetite among the 6-inch military collectors for realistic weaponry, and you talked about it a little bit earlier. Did you see a spike in your accessory packs when the loadouts for Hasbro's classified series became more honest?
Yeah, the weapons pack alpha, the realistic weapons pack, is the highest selling item I have. So that,
Nice.
yeah. I had to double my quantity already for it.
And if fans are late to the party, where would they go if they were interested in ordering some realistic 6-inch military weapons?
All of the Series 1 Action Force items, all of the accessory packs, all the core figures, Sergeant Slaughter, the basic troopers, everything is available on CrowdOx for pre-order. Now you can go to any social media platform that I have, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and every post that I make has the link to the pre-order site. Also, if you go to Valaverse.com, front and center page says pre-orders. Right in the middle there, you click on that. That takes you to the pre-order page as well. If you have any trouble, you can message me. I get to all the people that message me on social media. I'll help you through it. There's also a tutorial video that I put up on YouTube, because CrowdOx isn't like ordering from Big Bad. It's not like, oh, there's my figure, click pay. It's almost formatted more like pledging, like a Kickstarter pledge. You kind of have to pick your package and then select your figures and then select your extras. So there's a quick little 5-minute YouTube video that I put up walking people through the CrowdOx site and how you go through and select the tiers and select your characters and your extras. So it makes it really easy for people.
Yeah, CrowdOx is easy.
It's really easy. Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I think it's interesting and cool to know, what accessory packs are selling and what's really lifting. So I'd love to get your as much insight as you're comfortable giving on which Action Force figures have been most popular and which ones have maybe surprised you. A guy or gal who you thought would be okay, but who actually ended up being one of your leading men or women.
I think it's more of how I actually predicted it. Sarge is the number one by far. He's the heavy hitter.
He's been out for 4 days.
Yeah. He's outsold. He's outsold everybody in 2 days. Yeah. Yeah. The power of Sarge. Steel Brigade is not too far behind. He's next. I believe after him is the Swarm Trooper. It's either the Swarm Trooper or Condor. But I actually thought that Bone Collector would be ahead of both of them. But they're more popular than Bone Collector. Then it's Bone Collector, then it's Karak. As far as the troopers go, I figured the Special Ops Trooper would be the most popular out of the three because you kind of customizers can do more with him. So it's him, Urban, Riot. But then the Riot gear pack, which is like an all black vest, all black weapons, like that's a huge seller out of all the gear packs. You have the two just rifles and pistols, and then for the armor gear packs, like that is the number one seller for that. And then behind that is the Swarm gear pack, which is a good one because the Swarm Trooper is so high and everyone wants that flying jet pack to go with their Swarm Trooper.
Can you tell from your orders if people are buying the Swarm in multiples? Like, are you getting people army building the Swarm?
Yeah, they're army building the Swarm. They're army building the Steel Brigade.
So, question from the crowd. Have you considered partnering with a shoddy mobile app that promotes the wrong variant of a figure and takes multiple tries to order?
When I did the video, the Sarge video, and I did my little intro, I almost started the video out by saying, "Hi and welcome to the network." But
don't do that.
But yeah, it was still, the wound was still open. So listen, there's no chance of ever doing that. There was no chance of doing that previously, but listen.
Now that you've seen the map.
I appreciate and respect the pureness of Bobby's venom, which is completely unfiltered, and I dig that. But generally, the high road is the better road. So I think you made a strong choice right there.
They don't take the high road, so I won't take the high road. Well, here's the thing. They bring it on themselves. I was laughing. I found it. It was like a 3-day. It was like a comedy for a week because the network thing happened, and then they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have something on Friday the 26th." And I said, "Are you now?" Who is too? And I knew, I was like, I'm gonna ruin
twirling the mustache. And
I remember PMing you and saying, "I hope they start on time because now you've got your announcement." And then they had a countdown, and then it went like a blank screen with just Snake Eyes, and then we just there was no word, and I was like, "Oh no, come on, get your shit together."
Yeah.
Hey, language.
It was a week-long comedy. It was like the network thing happened, and I was reading the comments, and I was like, "Is this really happening? Please tell me this happened exactly how I wanted it to happen." And then I was like, "Wow, what a crap storm they're in." And then I remember Thursday night, I'm sitting, me and my wife we're lounging in our hot tub. It's like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I'm on my phone, and I see that everything they planned the show had leaked the night before, and I was like, did I find like a 4-leaf clover or something? Like, what did I do that was so good that they're giving me all these presents? Because they just ruined it for themselves. They ruined it. So that then all the news outlets already had it up the next morning, and the luster was off. And then by the time the live stream came, people were like, "Yeah, okay. Oh, the only new thing you're going to show us is a silly Storm Shadow that got everyone disappointed. Okay, all right. When's 3 o'clock going to roll around? All right, let's get ready. All right, cool."
So, any truth to the rumor that you delayed to 3 o'clock to let us get our live stream in between?
No. Okay. I was just thinking, what's a good time? Like, well, okay, well, they'll go at 12:30.
Could have scored some easy points there, Vala, but whatever.
No, come on now. I'm not going to do that. I figured give them an hour to have everyone just get over their news. And I think it was perfect. I think the way it was all set up was perfect.
Yeah, we were making sure to get out of the way for you because we wanted to see it ourselves.
Thanks. I did get wind from someone that said they weren't happy.
Well,
That Hasbro wasn't happy.
well,
And
Oh,
I just,
you?
Name your source, Bobby. We name our sources on this show, man.
I'm not.
Name your source.
Stop pressing that, Weber.
Don't make me go Liefeld on you. Here it comes.
They said, yeah, they're not happy. And I wrote back, mission accomplished. And that was it. That was it.
Weber's got his camera at a weird, so he can shoot the cover to his '90s rock album when he's done here.
Right.
The best part about it was I have friends of mine texting me during the Joe live stream saying people are asking Hasbro to do Sarge. When are you doing 6-inch Sarge? And I said, just wait a couple minutes.
Right.
Wait.
Soon. Hey, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to work on that.
So while we're talking about huge corporations, what was it? How difficult was it working with WWE to license the Sarge?
I wasn't involved in that end of it. When I was informed by Sarge's rep that Sarge he owns his likeness, he owns his name, but he has such a great relationship with the WWE. He's like, listen, we just have to let WWE know what we're doing as a courtesy, and I think that was all done on their end because I just waited for them to say, hey, we're all good. So
That's cool.
Luckily, yeah, it all came through and it all worked out. So, with each step, like we're getting closer. Like I first talked to the guy, said to my wife, I'm like, oh, I talked to Sarge's rep. Like, okay, but let me not get too excited about it. Made my pitch. Oh, I made the pitch. Like, all right, here we go. And then it's like, all right, hold on. Then it was like, all right, WWE said we're good. Yes. All right, one step closer. And then it started becoming a reality. And then it was like, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine a lot of them want to buy a 6-inch Sarge figure with a big hand cannon too. So I figure that's why they're totally on board with that.
The rest, what's amazing is how this has spread to the wrestling fans as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know Webb, you know who Zack Ryder is, but
sure,
Zack Ryder, or not anymore, but he was a WWE superstar. Matt Cardona, but he went by Zack Ryder, the Broski, $1,000 Broski. He's got a huge wrestling figure podcast. He's a big time collector. He collects tons of figures, and their podcast is huge. Mm-hmm. He posted the Sarge on his Instagram that night, and then reached out to me, and I was like, "Whoa, this is happening!" This is crazy. So and then I was on my buddy's wrestling podcast last night, so it's cool to kind of get it out to them as well, which is awesome because he's just as big to the wrestling crowd as he is to the G.I. Joe crowd.
Well, and I think we all know how a prototype can be fantastic and the final product may not be. But your prototype, the facial likeness is ridiculous. And this is a guy with, let's be nice, has a prominent feature, right? You wouldn't think it would be that hard to capture his likeness, but over the years, there's been some hit and miss. But your facial likeness on him is outstanding.
Yeah, my sculptor, Corinne Atkins, she is fantastic. She's done, I would say, probably 75% of the Action Force line. And she's great with portraits. I know she's done a lot of the Star Wars Black Series stuff. And, I sent her a good amount of reference, and she nailed it. She nailed it right away. And we sent it to Sarge. Sarge just wanted to kind of, grimace him up a little bit. So there was really only one round of changes, and we got it. And, when I got that 3D print, seeing it on screen is one thing, seeing the 3D sculpt. But then when you get that first print, you're just like, wow, that's him. That's Sarge. Do you
have it that you can play with it on camera a little bit?
Yeah.
Let me get your front and center here. Oh yeah, it's all you now, Bobby. You're taking up the whole screen.
Bobby on the screen.
Yeah, this was the 3D print, as you can see here. But it was cool because I got it, and it's his hat is removable and his glasses are removable. So when you got that print, it's like, wow, that's him. That's hard. It's like
That
that's
chin
not,
is so wonderful.
you know.
Even unpainted, when you turn it profile, you're like, yep, that's a Sarge.
Yeah. And then I kind of on my end, I had to go through a few rounds of like sizing the head correctly to the figures, but you know, it was like it was perfect. It's like that's the guy. That's him. That's him. So yeah, it's the whole process has been fun, and like I said, with each step, it really like it just kept getting better and better because you know I got the parts in and I was like wow, and then I started putting the figure together and I was like cool, and then I primed it and I was like wow, and then you know I was like painting it, and then I remember taking the promo photography, and I just texted my buddy and I just wrote Sergeant Slaughter, like because it was just like it doesn't seem real. It was like I'm taking pictures of a Sergeant Slaughter figure that's going to be in my line that we're going to announce in a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole process, like I'm always going to remember it. And the cool thing about it was I documented the whole building of the prototype. So I'm going to put together a YouTube video so you could see from start to finish how I went about designing and then building the Sergeant Slaughter figure.
How long did the head sculpt take?
Maybe about a week. Yeah, maybe about a week. Yeah, it was fairly quick.
Nice.
The longest part being the chin.
Yeah.
So the question now is, you know, our legal team has yet to receive word of your desire to include the What's on Joe Mind team in Action Force.
Ooh.
So what's up with that?
Listen, you know, back in the day, they always put people's heads on original Joes. I'm open. I'm open to bribes. I'm open to everything. Joe doesn't have to bribe. Joe, you don't have to bribe. I'll put you in the line. But no, I think I think
she's out.
To put people in the line. I think it would be awesome, you know? Because people kept asking me if I was certain characters in Series 1. I'm like, no. So Series 1 is all kind of original characters, but maybe Series 2, 3, 4, maybe we start getting, you know, some celebrity likenesses in there.
I like that we Banzord Joe for a second out of sheer jealousy.
He was gone.
You want to get jealous? Listen to this. Guess who's the official face of the Swarm?
Huh?
That's right. You see the size of that head? Couldn't be anybody else.
Well,
Yeah, you got a point.
Yeah, I got a lot of hair, man. It's not helping things.
You got a lot, man.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
It's a lot going on.
Man.
This is because I stay inside, but yes.
Buzz
Past
it,
my
man.
eyes.
That's not a bad look.
How do you emo kids do this? How do you do this?
There are people. Yeah, there are people who do that on purpose.
Yeah, I'm driving myself crazy. I got to use my. I said before we went on, I got to use my headset like it's a barrette.
You know, I heard dreadlocks are coming back.
You know that's an option at this point. That's an attempt.
That's not a bad idea, though. Could you imagine that?
I'm getting a request to floof it up, so I'm gonna.
You are.
Do that.
But Cobra Commander says he'd buy 10 Mike Irizarry figures. I don't know why.
Nice.
He makes videos where he shoots toys with missiles. So
Bill
that's why he would buy them.
Bill Nedrow from Illinois says he would love a Mark Webber action figure. So there's one. You can sell a prototype at least.
You gotta have the token redhead in the line,
right? Give me the dreadlocks. We'll call them. We'll call them. I got a line here. Give me the dreadlocks. We'll call them redlocks. Oh, we're on to something.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Now you're talking. So again, our legal team awaits your correspondence.
You don't need a legal team, Bobby. Just.
You can't afford a legal team.
You're already in, Joe. Come on now.
I've got to make a figure. I've got to make a costume for his first line first, and then we'll talk.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was the even money bet on what his surprise was going to be for July anyway. It was the Joe Colton edition. So That's right. That was the 1-to-1, or like you bet $5 and you win 2 at Vegas kind of bet.
Yeah. Is that real Joe Colton or German Joe Colton?
Right.
Oh boy.
Or actual, adventure team Joe Colton.
Right.
You know what? Who knows? Do they have that locked up? Seems
Getting
like the
sloppy
kind
with
of
copyrights over there.
seems like the kind of trademark that might slip by.
Look at him. He's beside himself,
Yeah,
grinning over
no
there.
comment.
Look at him.
I
Look at him.
don't need to take any more. I've taken enough from him.
Don't need to take any more.
I don't need to take any more. I mean,
We're imposing when we can beat up on people in video. I wasn't aware of that, but I'm kind of impressed by us now.
Yeah, normally we're just a podcast group, but put us online with some video, we're a gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a gang with a dungeon.
Right? With a cot.
Hot. If we start getting videos of Cockeye,
here it is.
okay.
Joe Fest 2021 Action Force exclusive, Joe Colton Cot Guy 2-pack.
Ooh,
Yeah,
all right.
That's the closest those two are ever going to get.
That's probably a Walmart exclusive is what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Definition. Or a network exclusive.
Oh,
Right?
Damn.
I feel like that guy would show up to Joe Fest, and
Yeah.
then you're all gonna have to help me.
Well, he's got enough time to hitchhike there, so yeah.
He's gonna be working my booth.
I would totally be working your booth. You never leave your booth. Just staring at me like Plan B.
Ooh.
Wow, Plan B reference.
Ooh.
Mm. I apologize for everybody missing the in-jokes. You can always go back and check out our previous material. Most of it is audio at whatsonjoemind.podbean.com.
Or listen to the pre-show. The pre-show is always better.
Pre-show is the best show.
Always better.
A wizened
Bobby.
old ginger taught us that.
Right?
We've got another question for you.
All right. I love fan questions.
Still Wind 87 says, I know this would be way in the future, but any thoughts on a fighter jet for the Action Force team?
Do you have $1,000 to spend?
Right.
We better start buying up some more sergeants.
Right. Bear in mind that you do have a Night Raven sticking out of your head right now. So
Well, I had to. It was hanging down.
It's
But
on that side.
For the video, I had to prop it up so it wasn't in the video. I get asked about vehicles all the time, and I tell people all the time. I said I have ideas for vehicles, and I kind of know how I'm going to do them and how I'm going to introduce them, and I think it's a clever way to introduce vehicles into 6-inch. But a fighter jet, that might be like a build a vehicle over like 6 waves.
right. How'd that TIE fighter sell? Right?
Right, and that's what you have to take into consideration.
Right.
Because you have to look at the collectors, and people only have a finite amount of space, and I think that's why the TIE fighter didn't do well, because it's like, it's cool, it looked great, but you're asking people to buy this thing that's going to take up a huge amount of space, and not a lot of people have big toy rooms, so you almost have to pick and choose. And normally a lot of people want more figures, they want the most that they can. And you think back in the 80s and 90s, Joe was a vehicle line that just made figures to go with the vehicles. But it became more about the characters. And now we're here in 2020, and people care more about the characters than they do vehicles. And it shows. That's why companies aren't doing vehicles, because the characters are what sells. But at the same time, I feel like you need the vehicles in the line as well. I worked on the Legends sort of vehicle riders line, and those were small, but I felt like that could be so much more. It was hard with Marvel because there aren't a lot of like iconic vehicles. Like there's the Fantastic Car, but that's not really that big. But I want to do vehicles. I think it's important. Someone said to me, they said, you should do a triple T. which would be cool. So we'll see.
You could call
We'll
it
see,
triple S. I don't know.
yeah.
Triple V.
Vehicles, fingers crossed will happen down the road, but a fighter jet, it's we'll see.
I think people fall in love with the idea of vehicles without embracing the reality of scale.
Yeah.
Like even if you look back at the history of G.I. Joe, and people talk about the aircraft carrier, and you can fit 3 Sky Strikers nose to tail on it. It's amazing. I actually looked it up once. On a Nimitz class aircraft carrier, you can fit 73 F-14s nose to tail on it. So even the flag, like the granddaddy of them all, right, is like 25 times too small to be accurate. So, I love the idea of vehicles for the 6-inch scale, but you're talking small vehicles, and you can make cool small vehicles. Some of the best-selling vehicles in Joe history were small, like the Devilfish. So to do new, especially because there haven't been new vehicles for a military line in ages, there's definitely room there. And I know you know that, but people need to be careful with, how about a fighter jet? How about a tank? Like
it's also the price of things. Like people can say, oh, I want vehicles, but you have to be willing to pay the price for it. If you think about it, what are the figures now? $20 to $30. You start getting into vehicles, the Marvel Legends, figure in a motorcycle, that's $40. Okay, well, we saw all the backlash with this, the Bespin staircase, $50. What are you getting? Not really much. So, if someone did, say Hasbro decided they were going to do a Vamp, and the Vamp was $60, I think a lot of people would be like, $60, I'll wait till it goes to Ross.
Right.
But you have to be realistic. Like, you have to remember that you're gonna, if you want something, you're gonna have to pay for it. So it's not just gonna be, oh, here's a $20, $30 vehicle. No, the bigger the vehicle, the bigger the price. So we have to get to the point where the consumer is willing to spend the amount of money to warrant a vehicle.
Well, you look back at two of the last new sculpt vehicles that were really well done, the updated Sky Striker and the updated Tomahawk. They weren't huge retail sellers.
No.
And they were much requested and pretty well executed vehicles for the 3 3/4 scale. And by and large, there was that pounce, but then they really sat. And there is that, unfortunately, that idea that I'll wait for it to go to Ross and then I'll buy it. You know what? If you're that kind of collector, you're not supporting the line. You aren't.
Yeah.
Once it's gone to Ross, the product has been snuffed or it has failed on some level, and you're not supporting it once it goes there. So yeah, you might get it at half price, but whatever they were planning to be the next vehicle is not happening.
Yeah.
So you waiting is what's causing that not to work.
I blacked out after Bobby said aircraft carrier, and so I'm just going to assume he confirmed it was coming. Okay. But yeah, no, a funny story. I bought when the Tomahawk came out, I bought one. And I was like, this is great. I'm going to go back and buy another one. So a couple weeks go by, and I've got the money set aside for it, and I go to buy a second Tomahawk. And I'm at the local Toys R Us even. And they were marking it down already. Like, it was just, it was like, okay, I'm here to buy another, and for $5 more, I bought 3 more.
Wow!
So they were giving them away practically. It was 65% or something marked down. It was crazy. I'm just going, well, that's great for me personally, but not at all encouraging.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that wasn't that long after it came out. Like, I bought the first one real quick, and then I was like, well, it's a little bit of an investment for what I was doing at the time, but I'll get $50 together. And Weber just bailed.
I think the problem that the Tomahawk had was that they didn't change it enough from the original. You got to think, like, a lot of people probably have the original, and the original is perfect. So if you're going to redo it and you kind of kept it the same size, you only tweaked a few things, it's like, all right, well, what is that really doing? If anything, you know, give something drastically different, give it a modern, updated take on it. So as well done as those vehicles were, I would have liked to have seen a little extra done to you know, update them a bit.
To make them stand out, sure.
Yeah.
Make it feel a little bit more like a purchase. So yeah, we don't know why we lost Mark Webber there. Just for everybody playing along at home. And again, thanks to everybody for showing up. We're getting close to an hour, and we won't take up a whole lot of Bobby's entire night with this because it's already pretty late. Bobby, what's the last bit that we haven't asked you about that you just got to get out there about? Sarge, Action Force, whatever.
Trying to think.
Pretend that we haven't been paying any attention to the media blitz you've been going on the last 3 days. Pretend that these are virgin ears.
The funny thing is that during this whole process, I never got to talk to Sarge once. I never, I was talking to his rep. But tomorrow we are having a conference call to sit down and talk to everything because he wants to. Because, like I said, he's so into this line and into this character that he wants to know the whole backstory. He wants to know who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, like. How, like, what's the future of everything. So it's great that he's showing such an interest in his character. Like it's not like he's just, a guy that's looking for a payday or whatever. No, he's like, no, I'm Sergeant Slaughter and you're using Sergeant Slaughter. Like I want to be immersed into this character. And
his brand too. He would like to be involved.
Absolutely. And I know he doesn't do Facebook or Instagram. He does Twitter. Like he's real big on Twitter, which is great because I don't do Twitter. And some of my friends who are on Twitter, they're like, Sarge is blowing up Twitter. I'm like, all right, great. This is awesome. So it's cool that he is really like into everything. And he wants to know, like, I'll send him the link when this show's out because he wants to hear all the podcasts that I'm on where I'm talking about it. So he's really that into it, which is it's like reinvigorating for me because I'm so into it. So to see that he's so into it, like that's awesome. So I can't wait to like talk to him tomorrow and like really like hear how into it he is. And, we can talk about how well it's doing. Like I'm going to share a lot of the sales numbers because it's exceeded everything that, that I pitched to them, which is awesome. Like to show them like, all right, we took a gamble on you being an unknown company, just small starting out, and it's paying off big time, like already after 4 days.
Nice. Instant dividends. Make that cash. I'll edit in that cash register set later, right? Oh, wait, no, I won't.
No, you won't.
I will not. That's the whole reason we're doing this live is because I don't have anything that lets me edit video just yet. We're getting there, though.
You're fine. It's so easy.
Right?
Yeah, when you can edit the video, make me Tanner, please.
I'm not a miracle worker. I'm just an editor.
Well, fine, Jim.
The other bit of Sarge news that I could share, this will be shared for the first time, is that so I've said before that all of the Action Force figures will have file cards on their packages. So you'll get a little backstory on the character. And our very own Mark Webber is the one who is doing the Sergeant Slaughter file card.
Right? I already turned in a first draft and I have no problem getting edited. So I'm sure I'll have more work to do. But I was really pleased when Bobby let me do some file card writing on the very first line of Action Force. And file card writing is I was actually working on the Joe line. So the idea that I get to write Sergeant Slaughter's file card for future Sarge kind of is just an incredible opportunity. And I turn it quick because I know Bobby's got things to do. So I work fast, I work cheap, and I do good work. So I was really pleased. Anytime I get to write a file card, it does my heart good. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I think you'll like what I put together.
I can't wait to read it. There was never a question once once I knew that I was getting Sarge, I was like, well, I know who's writing file card. Because the other thing about Action Force, and I've said it before, that everyone that has done work for me on Action Force are fans. They're fans. They're people that are in the community, because I think that's important. I don't want to just, like, yes, there are very talented people out there, but I want to bring people in that really love what I'm putting together. And, you know, when someone loves what you're doing and then they get a chance to work on it, I feel like it makes their work that much better. So that's why I love having the people that I have doing work for me involved, because they're fans, and that's, to me, that's very important.
Well, and Bobby and I have a common backstory, right? And that we worked at the same place. And when you're working with a designer, or a designer working with a marketer, they can be talented as all get out. They can be smart and they can be a pro's pro. But if they don't care about the brand they're working on, you can absolutely tell the difference. And that shows up inside the halls, that shows up on the pegs, that shows up in the final count at the end of the year. How did we do? Tell you what, you want to be careful not to have fanboys running your lines. But if you're not passionate about the brand that you're working on, you'll never put the same kind of effort into it as someone who does.
Yep.
And along the same lines, Joe Colton and I will be teaming up to write William Perry's file card.
There you go.
So, you heard it here first.
It's amazing how many people have suggested that to me. You know, but at the same time, like, I've done a bunch of other podcasts, and I got tons of questions on social media, and people keep saying, like, "Ooh, who's the next one?" Well, it's like, I don't know. It's like Sarge is
Yeah.
Sarge is Everett.
Yeah.
Like,
You got to be careful about that. And no offense to the Fridge, because when they got him, that was a big pull, right? One of the youngest stars in the NFL, and that's all well and good. But Slaughter was a big star before they got him.
Yeah,
and it only augmented his fame. And then the Joe run augmented his late wrestling run.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there. So I just, the people who immediately default to, well, you got to do the Fridge next. I'm not so sure, right?
That's the people I'm poking fun at. I'm not poking fun at William Perry. That dude went to play in the NFL, which is where the 1% of the 1% of athletic freaks go to play. Right. So by all means, not knocking what that guy accomplished with his life. But no, we're picking on the folks who just say, you got to do the Fridge.
Right.
But also, Fridge, look at what Fridge was, a one-off mail away. He never appeared again. He wasn't in the animation. I don't even know if he was in the comics. Sarge was a character for years.
Yeah.
So, he was important to the history of it. Someone said, "Oh, Roddy Piper." I'm like, I love Hot Rod, but he was one club figure. He's in Devil's Due comic. It's like, at this point, it's almost like I don't want it. Like, I don't think you can top Sarge, so I don't want to try to top Sarge. Like, if you bring in a celebrity, like, later on, it's like, to me, it's like, I don't know. I look at, like, well, I'm a huge Stone Cold fan, so, like, yeah, having Stone Cold in line, but but that's wrestling fans. It's like Sarge was the perfect storm. He catered to so many genres, and I just don't see a way to sort of top him. So I'm not going to try to top Sarge. I'm just going to run with it. We've got Sarge for a little while now, so he's going to be in Action Force for a bit. So, there's no reason to top him.
Well, and I like that with Action Force being set in the future, in the universe you're creating, or that anyone is creating with their own collection, it can be the future of our current universe or their own G.I. Joe universe if they want to. And even though the universes are tied because of the similar trademarks and such, Action Force is not dependent on G.I. Joe.
No.
Yeah.
Right? Action Force is its own thing, its own vibrant universe. And there are some ties that you have created. But if there's never another G.I. Joe nod or homage in Action Force, that's totally fine. And that may well be the way it goes. Because I think what's lost a lot in the vintage brands with Joe and Transformers and even Star Wars and some others is the beauty of those when they were at their height was all the newness every year. And the brand new characters. As kids, we couldn't wait to get that first card or that first catalog and unfold it or flip it over and see who all the new guys and gals were. And that's where Action Force, I think, really steps out, is look at all of our characters.
Yeah.
And I think it's natural for Joe fans who also collect Action Force to go, well, who's the next guy? Who could he get? You know what's better than who could Bobby get is who could Bobby create? That's what I want to see. That's what I did.
Yeah, and I think when you look at like a lot of these lines, there's a lot of fan servicing going on because there's that nostalgic factor. Well, I can't use any of the old Action Force designs because they're protected by copyright. So it is all new for me. I can have this originality. And, you know, yes, there's that tiny bit of sprinkle of fan servicing with Sarge and Steel Brigade, but they're new. Like they're a whole new character now. So that, yeah, you totally hit the nail on the head. It's like, yeah, what are the unique characters? And I've said it from the start, like this line was about unique characters. It wasn't going to be about just the figures or customization or this or that. This is an intellectual property that has a story, that has unique characters, that is going to evolve.
You're making your own universe. Like you don't need to continue like G.I. Joe's universe. You've got Valaverse.
Yep.
And it's not dependent, like Mark said. So
absolutely.
And if Steel Brigade was fan service, I know which fan we're talking about. He's right over there. Well, there he is over there.
There he is up there. Yeah.
Listen, if you're gonna make a toy line,
guy,
the opportunity to put your favorite character in it, you might as well do it.
Yeah.
Because seriously, whose favorite G.I. Joe is Steel Brigade? Like,
right?
You said it. It's like, you know,
there it is. I've never met another Joe collector whose number one favorite character was Steel Brigade.
What we did talk to Joe Holp from File Card Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He admitted that was his favorite as well. Yeah, he's number two.
He was sucking up trying to get into Valaverse. That's what
I'm gonna be on their show next week.
Yeah,
then you cut his head off.
He wanted to apologize for driving the price up on some of those eBay auctions.
Right. When you get there, Bobby, just cut his head off, experience the quickening, and you're good.
It's him and me. We're the ones that are driving the price up on it all.
Yeah.
Although I kind of
coordinate
because I've been so busy with everything. I haven't really like been on eBay all that much. So I'm like, oh, what am I missing? I'm missing all these Steel Brigades that are probably selling lower than I would pay.
You hear that, right? Joe? Now's your time. Now's your time, Joe.
Buy them all.
I hit 100. I'm good. I hit 100.
Whatever.
Whatever. Here, I'll get you caught up. Here's what you're missing on eBay. Bats are $100 now.
I saw that. Like that's a good thing about Facebook. People will post, and I'm just like, should I sell my collection? Like, man, like complete Storm Shadows are $200. Mickey Mouse Color Commanders are $400. Man, mail away Dukes are $100. I'm like, this is crazy. I got a mail away Duke with an unused sticker. Like I should totally
went from being a G.I. Joe collector to an antiquities dealer, and you didn't even know it.
Yeah.
So we'll call that time. We'll let Bobby get back to possibly beer number 3.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, because we got done with 2. What were you drinking tonight, Bobby?
Cheap American. I was going with some Rolling Rock.
All right. Joe Colton, what did you have on tap there? What wine were you looking at there?
It's like a giant bottle.
Okay, so just one of those $4 a jug things.
It's the $12 jug cab
stab.
It's a step up. It's a step up from the box, though.
Mark Weber. Mark Weber, what did you have on tap?
You just judged my Rolling Rock. You made a face,
right? I'm in the basement. Come on now. If I were drinking anything, it'd probably be Boone's Farm wine just to complete the experience, right?
I had unnamed American Cola,
Oh, nice.
and but that was what we were drinking tonight. So nod to the Open Your Toys cast there.
Yeah, and if you're new to What's on Joe Mind, we are better if you drink. So
Can't hurt.
hell, we can't even get through the show without drinking. So
Can't hurt.
Yeah, I gotta watch the long podcast because the more I drink, then the more the more loose I get, and then stuff comes out.
yeah,
So I gotta watch sometimes. Like, all right,
I was about to say, clearly you haven't listened to the second hour of some of the ones you've done with us.
right.
you get me in a mood,
You're not only a guest, Bobby. You're a former guest host.
Oh, wow!
I mean, you got a legacy, man. You got a legacy.
This is my first time on where Webb was an actual host now.
Right? I'm minted now. I'm a made man.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's legit.
The honcho.
I asked them, I'm like, hey, what are we going to talk about? And they're like, yeah, we can't tell you that. I'm like, oh, it's like Valaverse all over again.
Yeah.
Am I on the list? No. But write me a file card. Man!
Hey, come on, man. But that'll do it for us tonight. If you're new to the channel, like our video, comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and otherwise do the nice YouTube things because we'd like to do more of this. And frankly, if people are going to watch us, then we'll do more. And if people aren't going to pay any attention, then screw you, we're done.
Right?
Also, make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your others, and wear a mask when you go out in public. Go out in public as little as possible. Maintain some social distance. Keep 6 feet or better between you and people you don't know. This is for real, and it's continuing to be for real. And we want you to be with us for the next 9 years of What's on Joe Mind. But Joe Colton, anything last minute?
No, I just want to thank Bobby for coming on the show, and it's nice to see you.
I know.
Drink.
Engine.
The Honcho Mark Weber, anything last minute?
Just 2 things. Still hate the
There we
brutal chest cut.
Oh my God,
So
we're
we
so
want to, right? Yeah, I'm Cal friggin' Ripken, baby.
I thought
Never
we were
gonna miss.
show.
I got a shirt, man. I made a shirt to lampoon the brutal chest cut, so we'll keep that streak alive. And then I was goofy first because we want to be serious. Something we just heard about today: the passing of a Joe fan and a tremendous customizer, Stuart Lee Hickman, who I did not know and never met, but I know his place in the community, and especially among the customizers. His online handle was Vanishing Point. Did some amazing work, especially on Sigma 6 customs. So, and anytime we lose anybody, it's rough. But to lose a guy young and quick is a real shot. So we definitely want to. Yeah, and so we want to give our best to his friends and his family, and know that he is remembered at least in these halls.
Yeah, former guest of the program, by the way. He has been on our show, so he's for the folks who've the scholars, if you will. That's a name you should have heard before. Bobby, hate to throw that in your lap, man, but
Right?
last words.
Wow.
Over to you, Bob.
Jeez, man. I just want to say thank you to you guys. I always love coming on. Thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone listening. Thank you to the fans who sent questions in. I love fan questions. I love talking to you guys. I try to answer every message that comes in. So send all your questions on social media. But thank you. Joe, thank you for being visible tonight. Webb, thank you for being awesome. Mike, as always, thank you for everything and for having hair.
Long hair.
Beautiful.
emo hair.
Luxurious hair.
Makes me jealous.
Right?
I'm so envious of guys with good hair.
Well,
So
you got to rub it in, Mike.
Yeah,
That's all I got, man. I got nothing else. I got hair.
I have to compensate with the beard though, because I don't have hair.
See, I can't grow. This is like 5 days. That's how bad my beard is. But all right, we're getting off on a tangent again. Good night, everybody. From What's on Joe Mind, keep yourself safe, be kind, and yo, Joe.
Good night, guys.
I feel like